Coming up, highlights from the AOPA homecoming fly-in. You've got to see aerobatic superstar Mike Goulian tear up the sky.
It's time to equip for the ADS-B mandate, and one little device could save your life.
General aviation serves America in times of crisis, and that's all, brother, the warbird that led D-Day being brought back to life.
AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
From your first skyward glance, the dream of flight compelled you. And from your first glimpse of a Cirrus, you realized that dream had a name. Cirrus Aircraft. Go where you've never been before.
Sometime this year or next year, start on your install, because I wouldn't want to be looking in 2019 and you won't be able to fly in Class D airspace.
The time to act is now if you're an aircraft owner. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Haines.
And I'm Melissa Rudinger. Thanks for watching AOPA Live this week. AOPA President Mark Baker made the call to action last weekend at the AOPA Frederick Fly-In.
And that action? Get ADS-B installed in your aircraft soon. The big crunch is coming. The crunch is the number of aircraft that need ADS-B out versus the number of shops available to do the installs.
This is where I need your help if you're an aircraft owner or a renter, is make sure you're starting down that path of getting this equipage done. We've got less than 5 years to equip over 150,000 airplanes.
Up to now, a lot of aircraft owners have resisted adding ADS-B out because of the cost. Even as late as 6 months ago, the lowest cost we could find was about $7,000, but AOPA worked hard to change that.
What I'm really happy about is we had big meetings with the FAA, manufacturers, and got to a place that said, we need a low-cost product for these $30,000 airplanes, $20,000 airplanes, that frankly, that the A&P can install at the time of the annual. The good news is they all reacted. We're seeing $1,700 to $2,000 equipage prices complete. So you can buy this product, have your A&P install it. At your next annual, you may have to have an AI sign-off.
As Mark said, we've seen tremendous movement in price, and part of that came when we made it very clear that that date's not changing. And once that stake was put in the ground, the avionics manufacturers were more willing to design a 10,000 unit run, which is what we needed to get that price to come down. So with sub $2,000 units, I think we've really achieved a lot. And as Mark said, we can't all wait till 2019 to equip.
Now remember, you need to equip with ADS-B out to fly in Class Bravo airspace and other airspace where you need a transponder today. And we're not talking about portable units. ADS-B out is a certified box you have to mount permanently in your airplane.
And that's a really important point because there are a lot of folks that are confused about that. Even if you have ADS-B in, which gives you traffic and weather, you may not have ADS-B out, which makes you visible to the controllers and to other aircraft. So to help you understand ADS-B and figure out what you need for your aircraft, we've created this online resource for you. The URL is there on your screen, and it includes the AOPA ADS-B selector tool. Step through the decision tree to find out what works for your flying and the existing equipment on your airplane. There are solutions to be had for under $2,000. So while the FAA says you have to have ADS-B out by the end of 2019, there's another piece of equipment you might like to have on your airplane.
And we think you might like it too, that gadget, an angle of attack indicator. The FAA and aviation industry groups, including AOPA, are launching the Fly Safe campaign, and it's pretty self-explanatory.
We agree with the FAA's Fly Safe campaign, and having AOA information in the cockpits of general aviation aircraft could go a long ways towards making general aviation pilots much safer and preclude or eliminate some of those loss of control accidents.
Perry spent years flying F-14s and F-18s off carriers. He says Navy pilots rely on angle of attack information.
In the military or in the Navy, you fly your approach based on an optimum angle of attack or on-speed AOA.
But it's not just for fighters.
There's three major types. There's the lift reserve type, which is a pedostatic system essentially, vane type, and an AHRS driven, but they all do basically the same thing, and it tells you how close your wing is to that critical angle of attack, so you have a visual indication of how much lift do I have left before the wing is going to stop flying. And
the Fly Safe campaign hopes to raise awareness about how AOAs can help prevent loss of control accidents, the #1 killer in general aviation. AOPA Live has shown you several of the AOA options over the years. You can dig more into them right now. Search for AOA on AOPA.org. You'll find videos of the Bednick's King KLR-10 and the Aspen Evolution Integrated Angle of Attack Indicator.
Of course, AOAs were among the many different things on display in the exhibitors tent at the AOPA Fly-In and Homecoming here in Frederick last weekend. Some 65 companies and organizations had displays, including our friends from Sporty's, who handed out free ice cream after the pilot town meeting. Despite some marginal weather early in the morning, some 375 aircraft flew in, all guided to their parking spots by the friendly staff and volunteers in orange.
And those volunteers helped park a lot of cars, too. Thousands of folks came, more than 3,300 as a matter of fact. Young and old, there was something for all of them.
We came to see the displays and see the air show, just hang out with some enthusiasts.
Enjoying it?
Yes, having a great time.
And for the thousands along the show line, the free aerobatic demonstrations were pretty special as well. First, the Breitling L-39 jet team roared through on their arrival.
And then, airshow and Red Bull racing great Mike Goulian wrung out the extra 330 over AOPA headquarters. Mike is an AOPA ambassador, and wherever he goes, he reaches out to the community to promote general aviation.
And an all-around good guy, I might add. You know, Melissa, it's great fun to be at the fly-ins. You get kind of energized hanging out with the members and getting to talk to them. And we had a lot of people from AOPA Live this week. The viewers stopped by to say hello, too. That was nice.
I don't know about you, but I always like talking to our viewers.
Yep. There was a lot of interest in our You Can Fly tent as well. People wanted to know more about learning to fly and forming flying clubs. Our reimagined Cessna 150 drew attention there. The idea of flying for about $65 an hour was pretty attractive to many, including one young couple that we heard about that they've decided to get a 150 for themselves. And more than 125 pilots attended the Rusty Pilot Seminar. These are former flyers thinking about getting back in the air. And so far, nearly 20% of the attendees at our Rusty Pilot Seminars over the last year or so have gone on to get current again.
Something else to make you feel good about aviation, the new IMAX movie, Living in the Age of Airplanes. Our AOPA fly-ins start on Friday night with an old-fashioned barnstormers party with lots of good eats and hangar flying. Here in Frederick, we also had a private showing of Brian Terwilliger's new film. More than 800 aviation buffs enjoyed the unique movie.
And we sure had a full house for that. Friday night, meanwhile, we had a number of pilots who got the chance to visit with Cirrus Aircraft. That company had several aircraft on display at the AOPA National Aviation Community Center. Cirrus has been named an AOPA supporting sponsor just this week. Cirrus Aircraft is the first general aviation aircraft manufacturer to participate in the AOPA Corporate Partnership Program. Through the sponsorship agreement, Cirrus Aircraft will continue to demonstrate its commitment to AOPA initiatives to strengthen and expand the general aviation community. Well, coming up after the break, teens busy building airplanes, and the airplane that led D-Day saved by crowdfunding.
Plus, Mike Goulian rips it up in his extra. AOPA Live this week continues in just a moment.
It's been called the most sophisticated single-engine airplane ever. But to the people whose loved ones are alive today, it's called a lifesaver. The Cirrus Airframe Parachute System, only from Cirrus Aircraft.
Welcome back to AOPA Live this week. We're just getting a look at some pictures that show how GA serves America.
You probably know about those historic floods that have ravaged part of the southern plains. Well, it gave one FBO a chance to rise to the occasion. The pictures tell the story well. Dark clouds covering the ramp, but they're still in service. Redbird's Skyport remained open during that storm to provide critical infrastructure for rescue crews and those being rescued. In the days that followed, they served as a base for the National Guard, the Red Cross, Starflight's Medevac, local fire departments, and emergency medical services. In addition to dry towels, free food and drinks were offered from Redbird Skyport's on-site cafe for both those rescued and the pilots themselves. A big step forward for the Citation Latitude. The mid-sized business jet has received FAA certification. The $16.25 million machines will start shipping in the third quarter. The Latitude is the first mid-sized jet with a flat floor and a stand-up cabin. NetJets has ordered 150 of the airplanes.
While Cessna is building the latest bizjet, there's a team of high school students hard at work doing the same thing, but on a smaller scale. Build a Plane is a project to get young people into science, technology, engineering, and mathematics by rolling up their sleeves and building an airplane. A homeschoolers group is from Wisconsin is spending the next 2 weeks in Arlington, Washington at the Glass Air Factory. They are working with industry leaders to build a Glass Air Sportsman in the company's 2-week to taxi program. The students are hard at work.
Today I've been working on the engine mount and the wings, riveting a little bit.
I'm looking forward to getting the wings fully finished and on the plane, because that'll basically mean that one of the huge components have been put on.
We're going to continue to follow the progress of the Build a Plane team, and you can learn more about the program and how to get your school involved at buildaplane.org.
That's not the only STEM project going on this week. Think Global Flight is a flight around the world to raise awareness of STEM education. We've been following the program for several years. It started out with former teacher Judy Rice planning to fly around the world in a Cirrus with navigator Fred Nauer. The domestic leg kicked off at Sun and Fun 2014 with scientist, pilot, and astronaut Buzz Aldrin on board. The project has grown in the past year into using a Citation Mustang, as a matter of fact. The international flight is set to launch from Burbank, California this weekend. Judy Rice says she is looking forward to sharing the trip with others via social media.
We are going to be sending every day on Think Global Flight, Facebook and Twitter. Every day we're going to be sharing cultures. For the pilot also, we're going to be sharing what it's like to actually fly around the world.
The flight hopes to connect with classrooms along the way, showing students what's possible with aviation. Godspeed, Judy.
Another set of world travelers is making its first American tour. As we mentioned earlier, the Breitling Jet team will be traveling to air shows around the U.S. this year. And for the mostly French team members, landing at Frederick on the 71st anniversary of D-Day has special meaning.
We remember that a lot of Americans came to France to free our country and lost their life for that. So we have a very special thing and dedication to you, American people, and to all those people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
D-Day was unbelievable, wasn't it? 156,000 Allied troops, 2,300 ships, and 11,000 airplanes. Just incredible.
And just imagine all that firepower, all those airplanes, all those heroes were led into battle by one C-47. And 71 years later, that airplane's been found. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop brings us the story of That's All, Brother.
Allied troops made an assault on the beaches of Normandy. Paratroopers are dropped in behind enemy lines. 1 in 10 Allied soldiers would perish in the assault, but it would turn the tables of war. Leading the charge just after midnight on June 6, 1944, is an airplane full of brave men the likes of we'll probably never see again. This actual footage of them mounting up shows the lead airplane of the historic invasion. The C-47 is named with a message for Hitler. That's all, brother. Dropping paratroopers from the 101st Airborne Division into Normandy, That's All, Brother becomes one of the most historic aircraft of the war. Victory in Europe would be declared less than a year later. Flash forward 7 decades. There's an old C-47 carcass sitting in a field at Basler Turbo Conversions in Oshkosh. It's just weeks away from being cut up and reconfigured. Until a historian starts digging around, tracing the paperwork of That's All, Brother on a whim. After 16 ownership changes, here it sits. Enter the Commemorative Air Force.
Put in place a program to acquire the airplane and bring it back to its original World War II configuration. And this week we launched a Kickstarter fundraising campaign to finish the process of completing that transaction.
And talk about a wild success. The Kickstarter was up 36 hours, and tell us what happened with it.
Yeah, the morning it launched, you know, we hit the launch button with some trepidation. We don't know if The support will be there for what we're trying to do, but it was successful beyond our wildest dreams. Within 36 hours, we'd reached the fundraising goal, and are delighted to be able to say we're going to save this airplane and put it back in the sky where it belongs.
That's amazing, and I think the world kind of rallied together to save this important piece of history.
Certainly did. We were able to look at where the donations are coming from, and of course it's lots and lots of donations from America, but it was really interesting to see donations coming in from England, from France, a lot from France, from Belgium, from Holland. You know, D-Day was a very important event in the history of the world, and for anyone that cares about freedom, it's an important day, and it's really nice how people around the world have picked this story up and are willing to support it.
It's the least the world can do for that airplane that led the call of freedom in that fine, dark hour. Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
Thanks, Paul. What a needle in a haystack that was. The CAF will use the airplane as a living history exhibit, taking it around the world as an educational tool. You can find out more about the project at that'sallbrother.org. Much more to Paul's interview with CAF Executive Vice President Adam Smith. See the whole interview at aopalive.org. Just search That's All Brother.
That's an amazing project.
Isn't it amazing how quickly they were able to raise the funds?
Remarkable.
Just unbelievable.
And finally for this week, we'd like to leave you with a little more of the air show performances of the Breitling Jet Team and Mike Gullion at the AOPA Frederick Fly-In.
And remember, our next fly-in is to Anoka County Airport near Minneapolis. It's on August 22nd. So until next week, I'm Tom Haines.
And I'm Melissa Rudinger. Thanks for watching AOPA Live this week.
Here they are, the Breitling Jet Team.